Weight loss solutions are not one size fits all. Hers makes it simpler to get started and stick with a weight loss plan, backed by expert-guided online care that puts your weight loss goals first. These include oral medication kits or compounded GLP-1 injections. Through Hers, pricing for oral medication kits start at just $69 a month for a 10-month plan when paid in full upfront. No hidden fees, no membership fees. You shouldn't have to go out of your way to feel like yourself. Hers brings expert care straight to you with 100% online access to personalized treatment plans that put your goals first. Reach your weight loss goals with help through Hers. Get started at forhers.com/4u to access affordable, doctor-trusted weight loss plans. That's forhers.com/4u, forhers.com/4u. Paid for by Hims and Hers Health. Weight loss by Hers is not available everywhere. Compounded products are not FDA approved or verified for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. Restrictions at forhers.com. Apply.
So many Sun artists still around at that period.
Right.
You know, of course, I got to meet Sam Phillips a number of times, and I got to go to his house once when Robert Palmer interviewed him for some kind of documentary, and got to sit in on that. And you know, I met Ike Turner and James Cotton and Charlie Feathers and Roscoe Gordon and Scotty Moore, Carl Perkins, Jerry Lee, just. You know,
Johnny Cash?
I never met Johnny Cash.
Johnny just didn't come around, did he?
No, he didn't.
Mm-mm. What was Roscoe Gordon like?
Man, he was awesome.
Did he come in with a chicken?
No, he did not have the chicken.
Jim offered him some cheese and crackers.
I asked him about the chicken, and he said, yeah, the chicken's name was Butch, I think. And he said, yeah, when he died, we had like an actual funeral for him and everything. And
Hey, this is Dennis Black. Welcome to the Black and Wyatt Records podcast. This week, hosts Mike McCarthy and Frank Bruno talk with music historian, record collector, and photographer Jim Cole about growing up in Memphis, working at River City Records, and the rebirth of Sun Records. Jim talks about Rufus Thomas, Ike Turner, and Roscoe Gordon. Jim has photographed bands such as 68 Comeback, Fireworks, and the Oblivians, as well as assignments for CNN and Playboy. And now, here's Jim Cole.
All right. Sound okay? Volume, everything?
Jim Cole.
I'm here.
Why would you agree to this?
I'm, wondering, actually.
You're wondering?
In anybody else, I would say no, but for you, I can't say no.
Well, I didn't tell you Frank Bruno was going to be here.
Well, that's icing on the cake. What can I say?
Did I introduce you guys?
To Frank?
Yeah.
Yes, you did, actually.
Yeah. In the attic?
In the attic.
Yeah. And then what happened?
We just kind of nerded out on records and, kind of went from there. So
that's what he's good for.
Yeah.
Frank, any thoughts on Brian Wilson?
Yeah, that was pretty sad.
Yesterday.
Yeah, well, we went and saw Brian Wilson, if you recall, and that was probably one of the greatest shows I've ever seen in my entire life.
In Tunica,
doing the whole Pet Sounds album, and then doing a few other Beach Boys. So being able to see that, but yeah, him dying is pretty sad. But Sly Stone dying 2 days before, that's like two pretty big innovators dying within 2 days of each other. I think they were both 82 as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what shape Sly was in, and Brian was apparently had dementia. Brian had dementia.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're 82. It's a good run.
I got one Beach Boys story.
What's that?
I was in second grade, and the first album I ever picked out on my own, I was at Sears, and I bought a Beach Boys Summer Days and Summer Nights album.
Good. California Girls.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we would have days where our second grade teacher would let us. We'd bring records in, and we would dance, move the desk out, and we would dance for, activity.
What school?
Seattle Elementary.
Okay.
And so I brought my Beach Boys album down. Nobody wanted to listen to it. I mean, everybody this was like 1965.
Yeah.
All they wanted to hear was the Beatles, man. And I felt like I was so uncool because I had a Beach Boys album. And to make it worse, I'm walking home, it slips out of the jacket, knocks a big chip out of the edge. Still have it. It's, plays for the most part. But
right.
Yeah, I got shunned because of the Beach Boys, but,
Now, see, if Mike and I went to your school at the same time, we'd have been like, this dude's got a Beach Boys record. We would have been like, yeah.
Well, you should go over to Sea Isle now and see what they're listening to.
Yeah, probably not the Beach Boys.
So did you think, okay, this is high concept because it's Sea Isle?
No.
You just went with it.
Yeah.
I bought if we want to talk Beach Boy LPs, somehow I got a double gatefold album that had 40 songs on it, Beach Boys songs, in like 78 or 79 when I was 16. So they were also like a gateway.
Yeah.
And the liner notes in the gatefold were all in Swedish. Frank, you should help me find this. Because, I mean, it's gone. I don't know where it is, but surely there's copies out there somewhere. But it was almost like an airbrushed cover of a surfer, like you would have like had on a T-shirt at the Mall of Memphis. If you'd gotten someone to airbrush your thing, your car tag, whatever. And that it was all baby blue. Everything was baby blue. And you opened up the liner notes, and they were Swedish. And of course, I'm like, well, I don't even know what led me to buying it, other than maybe it was obvious that they were still on the radio. Jerry Lewis Telethon. I had my Super 8 camera in 79, and I filmed them singing off the television on my Super 8 camera. Wow. So I obviously had something there for them, and I'm sure that's the first time I'd ever heard about Manson.
Yeah.
Was through the Beach Boys.
That was around the I Love You album time, wasn't it? They come out 78, 78.
Well, I never had that. I wasn't that hip to buy the new. Well, I didn't even know Tupelo would have had that.
So was it just like Grace Hits, or
yes.
Did it span, or was it just early?
It was just like probably Sweden's version of Endless Summer.
I'm sure we can find it. We'll get on Discogs.
I have looked for it, but I haven't.
You haven't found it?
Mm-mm. Assuming that was Swedish. That's my memory.
Here's a little kind of Beach Boys related trivia. One of the first records that Lou Reed is on is a surf record that covers the Beach Boys, and it is pretty bad. It's so bad it's cool. It's good. I've got it. Did I make a copy for you one time?
Man, I can't remember.
Years ago?
I do want a copy of that Skins bongo record, though, that I brought over. Unless it's on YouTube. Well, what you're talking about is on YouTube, probably.
More likely.
Yeah. So you went to Sea Isle Elementary. Did you have the long hair and everything?
Not yet, but
So what did you have against the Beatles?
Nothing. I mean, I like the Beatles, but I just like that, California beach culture thing as a kid. Just
right.
Like, wow, this is just, where it's at. Dreary old England, man, forget it.
Right.
I want to be on the beach.
No one's surfing in Liverpool.
Yeah,
Yeah, unless they're dead.
Did you already know who they were before you got the record?
Yeah, you hear the songs on the radio and stuff. Everybody was keyed in on the radio at that point, and.
Well, there was a jukebox at a country grocery store. You guys were too metropolitan to know about the country. But I was like hearing things wherever and however I could. And I do remember this jukebox in Alpine, Mississippi, which was near, 20 miles away from Tupelo, whatever, out in the country. We would go there a lot. Their kids would get on the school bus, and somebody was playing Good Vibrations. And whenever I was around something like that, I felt cooler. Like, I'm like, this is my people. And then I just go back to my house and watch Rockford Files or whatever. Which the Beach Boys were probably on that too. I don't know. How prolific were you in your record taste when you were younger?
Well, just...
And I'm talking really young.
It's funny. At early age, elementary, 64, 5, 6, everybody, listened to the radio. Everybody bought records. Everybody went to concerts and stuff. It just seemed to be, just kind of what everybody did. I went to see the Monkees in 67 when I was in 3rd grade, and, saw a number of shows.
Was that the first time you were at the Coliseum?
Wasn't the first time I had been in the Coliseum. But
well, I'm assuming, or was it Ellis? No, it was Coliseum.
It was the Coliseum, yeah.
Was that when Hendrix opened?
No.
That was before?
Actually, the opening band was, I didn't know this at the time or anything, but looking into it, it was a band that Boyce and Hart had. What was it called? Candy Store Prophets?
That was called the Monkees.
Yeah, well, yeah, they pretty virtually were the Monkees.
We were talking about the Monkees with J.D. Rieger last time. That's all we talked about for like the longest time.
All right, man.
What was their band called?
I can't remember exactly. I didn't remember at the time, but just looking back,
Well, then did they slip in behind the Monkees and then play with them later?
They probably should.
Oh, you wouldn't.
It was just pretty much chaos. You just screaming,
Yeah.
screaming teenage girls. It was crazy.
But your parents let you do all this?
Yeah, my dad took me and my sister. I saw bands like Tommy James and the Shondells, and saw, I liked Tommy Rowe as a kid, Jam Up, Jelly Tide, all that stuff. And when I was 12, I turned 12 in 1970, and my mom, I told her for my birthday I want tickets to go see Jimi Hendrix, and she got 2 tickets and took me down to the Coliseum and went to a Jimi Hendrix show, and so I got to see a number of things as a kid. I didn't feel like I was super into music, but I liked it just like everybody else. And
So in 70, what was that album? Don't talk about Hendrix.
No thunder.
I don't.
It wasn't Band of Gypsies, was it?
It'd have been because he died in 70.
Yeah, he died I think around 6 months after
So
that
was he
show.
with the Band of Gypsies?
Yes, Band of Gypsies. This was, like I said, about 6 months before he died that he did that show at the Coliseum.
Do you remember anything peculiar about the show? Or
It was extremely loud. It was, when I went to the Monkees, there was tons of kids. At the Jimi Hendrix show, not so much.
Right.
Me and my mom looked. My mom was not a hipster. She took me to the show.
Whose mom is?
My mom's like, she was a Sunday school teacher down at Southern Avenue Baptist Church, and the whole bit. But she was open-minded enough to take me, and
did you have to go to Bible school?
Oh yeah, all that stuff. Yeah.
And who was your Bible school teacher, Jim?
Well, we'll get to that, man.
That was what I asked you. We talk about all this music. When did you start getting into Memphis music and aware of Memphis?
Or when did you find the Lord?
And its music.
Wow, I kind of late 70s sort of branched out musically, and started listening to stuff that went on the radio or
By turning backward, you mean? When you branched out, you looked backward.
Well, somewhat. This is I got out of high school in '76, and I bought a Muddy Waters album. Just completely blew my mind.
Which one?
One of them I bought was when he did a couple albums with Johnny Winters that were kind of accessible to, So it sounds like a dumb cliche, suburban white teenager hears Muddy Waters and his head explodes, but that's really what happened, man. I heard that Muddy Waters album, and it's just like, listening to music just changed. I don't know what it was, but
your record collection was pretty large by that time.
not real big.
No?
Not real big. It would kind of ebb and flow, and I was going out to the flea market, and there'd be a lot of guys set up selling records, and
I envy you that because they were also selling concert photos. A guy with the last name of Gray was selling 8x10 glossies of Coliseum shows, probably Ellis shows as well.
Oh.
I mean, I've heard all these stories. I've
Yeah.
got some of the pictures actually from people that have handed me down some things. And I'm like, Claude Gray, that was his name.
Gray.
Did you know him?
I didn't know him.
I guess you were probably younger than most of the people that were trafficking in all this stuff at the time.
Probably so, yeah. But you'd go to the one thing that was big out there in the late 70s were bootleg albums, like that label True Mark of Quality, stuff like that. There'd probably be 5 or 6 booths of people just selling bootleg, live recording kind of albums and stuff.
Memphis bootlegs?
Just all kind of stuff,
Yeah.
Bob Dylan, Grateful Dead, et cetera,
Where'd you go to high school?
Overton.
Overton. Okay, where was that?
It's in East Memphis, kind of.
It's still there.
Yeah, it's still there. It's
Okay.
It's now a big focus on music at Overton. They have a big music program. And It's
Okay.
kind of a performing arts kind
Did
of school.
they back then?
No, no, not at all.
I was going through my filing cabinet up in the attic a few weeks ago. I didn't bring it with me, but for some reason, I don't know how I got this. This is the kind of thing that Frank would say, "Hey, have you seen this?" But I have your high school graduation, or not graduation, just I don't know what grade it is. I have a photocopy of the page of the yearbook that you're in from like 10th or 11th grade. It's not graduation because you're not wearing
Yeah.
the tux. How the hell did I get that?
I don't know.
So that's from Overton.
It could have been. I went to another school for a little bit. Busing started, and
Yes.
I got stuck in this Baptist school for a little bit.
Yeah.
Fortunately, got out of there. And
Well, all the women, the 10th, 11th grade, whatever they are gorgeous on that page.
yeah, they wouldn't have anything to do with me. So
Well, you have long hair, kind of like you do now.
okay, yeah.
So Can you pinpoint the year that you had long hair in high school, or was that several years?
Probably about 10th, 11th grade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's dudes on the page too, and they've kind of got the, all right, we're listening to the Beatles. We're 10 years later, we're getting the message. Everyone's kind of got that below cut look.
Yeah.
But you're just like, to hell with it. I'm just going, I'm going lengthy.
Yeah, there you go, man.
But that didn't turn the girls on?
Not really, man. I just didn't, I don't know what it was, but it took a little while there.
If they'd
I was no Ross Johnson, let me tell you.
If they'd only known that you were like going to see or had seen Hendrix and stuff they probably didn't care. So you're going through musical changes as you're going through changes in life and all that. But when did you decide that, well, okay, I'm into music. I'm not really going to play music, but I'm going to be an avid collector of it? Or did you try to play music?
Well, no, not really. I never felt like I had any, ability or really a lot of musical aspirations.
Hasn't stopped me, Jim.
Well, and a lot of people, but kind of like again, late 70s, I started going out to shows, and you could drink when I was 18, so you could go to bars, and I started going down to the Well and saw the Panther Burns and Clits and Randy Band and all that, and man, that was just shocking, honestly.
How
to go
so?
Down there. I'd never seen anything like that. First of all, it was just like a real art scene, and I had never really been around any kind of art scene much to speak of. And I don't know, it just was not like going to see some southern rock band or typical thing you would see in a bar in Memphis. Mm-hmm. It was just completely different,
But you had been to other bars?
Oh, yeah, I'd been going out.
So you didn't waste any time going to the bar?
No.
When you were 18, that was it?
Yeah. It's funny, when you could drink when you were 18, but, the bars were filled with 16-year-old kids.
Yeah.
If you could halfway look 18, you could get in no problem.
My son John just got back from a Chicago trip, and he won't be 21 till August, but he's got an ID. And so, but he said in Chicago, the taverns they went into, they didn't even card him.
Wow.
So, I'm like, well, okay, cool.
Long hair.
I guess. He's 6 foot something.
Yeah,
so,
well, that makes a difference.
So, yeah, I guess it does. But you, did you hang out? Did you have a core group of friends that were also?
No. Didn't know anybody
really?
Into any of that. I would just, go out, go to the Well or, whatever.
So what was your into all that stuff? You had no friends doing. Well, how were you hearing about this stuff?
You'd see flyers around town mainly.
Yeah.
Really?
There wasn't a lot of, no social media or anything like that, of course. But I saw a flyer for the Panther Burns, and I thought, wow, this, I'm listening to a little punk rock here, and this looks interesting. And I went down, and it's like, this isn't punk, quote unquote punk rock. I'm not sure what it is. I don't even know if I like it. But something about it was just really fascinating.
I feel the same way. Felt the same way. Yeah.
So
But then the Tab Falco that I saw, I think this came up with the Rieger interview. The Tab Falco I saw in London it came from Memphis show that Paul Dewan and Robert Gordon put on. My God, could he play traditionally, very well. But as I commented then, it's like maybe hanging out with all these European rockabilly dudes that knew every single note for note. Maybe that just elevated his whole game.
Yeah.
But that was 20 years ago or whatever.
That's what he started doing. He was playing those Johnny Burnett songs and all that stuff.
And Moon Record stuff.
From the get-go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a big deal seeing Tab, and of course Alex Chilton was playing with him, and seeing Mudboy and the Neutrons and all that. But I was not part of that scene whatsoever. I was
Why
just, I was just I was a total newbie. Mm-hmm. I didn't really know that much about music, and
did you feel like an imposter or a poser in that sort of whatever it was supposed to be?
Not really. I just felt like a curiosity seeker, and but it definitely had a big impact. How
did you look then?
I didn't look cool or anything.
Were you in school or
just gotten out of high school? I wasn't, a punk rocker or anything.
And these people at the Well, there was a lot of long-haired people there, but was there a conversion going on with the style?
It seemed like it somewhat. Yeah, some kind of was sort of a a big point of change there in, fashion and, whatever. And that seemed like it was kind of real cutting edge, down at the well.
But you were like, damn, it took me all this time to grow this hair out. Now, what's this punk rock thing? Y'all were talking about the Pistols earlier. What exactly were you referring to?
Oh, there was a bootleg album out of the Memphis show.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody put it out. Maybe only had 35 copies available. So pretty limited pressing.
Who put?
I don't know, but they said the
It was
quality.
overseas. It was somebody. I think you can listen to it on YouTube.
Yeah.
I think it's on
Who do
YouTube.
you think recorded it?
No, I'm sure it was just a fan. I'm sure it was just a cassette recording because the audio is horrible.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, the band is horrible.
Well, that too. Well, there was a true release from Record Store Day a couple months ago of the Atlanta show, which was only like a week before the Memphis show, so it was probably pretty much about the same show.
Atlanta's the first show?
I think it was.
Yeah.
Their first show when they came over, yeah.
So Memphis was the second show?
I think so. I think it was Atlanta to Memphis.
So just like Bowie does Ziggy's second show in Memphis.
Something like that.
But he was in Cleveland before that. It's funny how they didn't want to bother with Midwest or...
When you say, this question for both of y'all, when you talk about punk rock and the look, but when I see Memphis photos of those shows and stuff, it still looks like...
Yeah. Memphis was
like Southern rockers, but they're in a punk rock show. You don't see like the Pogo London looking like...
Yeah.
You see...
Steve McGee had a pretty bitchin' haircut.
Normal looking people, like Memphis people.
I wouldn't say Southern rock.
Well,
Memphis is cutting edge in a weird way.
Yeah.
How so?
It's not like what you would see in the big cities. They march. Memphis marches to its own beat, and they'll come up with something.
Jim Dickinson walking around in a wrestler's mask.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, that's kind of timeless, I guess. For some reason, the David Johansen and Johnny Thunders pages have been popping up in my Facebook feed, and there's a picture of Johansen with Leonard Skinner.
Oh, wow.
And actually, it's a picture of him with Ace Frehley, too, which was kind of weird. But then the Dolls and Kiss were on the same bill at least once.
Well, didn't the Dolls influence Kiss? Weren't the Dolls
Yeah,
first?
but you would think that's too... You'd think they would go, oh, we don't want to have anything to do with... And yet,
Yeah.
it was that. But you were praying for shows like that to come here, but they never... Well, they did, but you were too young to go to the Dolls.
I did go to the Dolls.
But you knew about it.
I was aware of them as a band and whatnot.
God, you would have been incredibly young.
So junior high, probably.
Did you read Cream? What did you read?
Now and then I would pick up, a music magazine.
But you didn't subscribe to anything.
No. I was
okay.
Again, it was my interest was casual.
Could you get what could you get in Memphis? Trouser Press or Cream or?
Yeah, you could get stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah.
What was your evolving? How was the record store evolvement from you going as a kid to getting records in Memphis, like probably at Woolworths or places? And what about like in the late 70s? Were you seeing that kind of stuff at the record stores and stuff? Or
yeah, I remember the record store at Southland Mall had a big New York Dolls window display. And they were.
Did you get it?
I didn't, but I was like, wow, what is this?
All I managed was a Blue Oyster Cult poster.
Yeah, of course they come to Memphis and David Johansen gets arrested and all that, and
And they never. Well, they come back eventually when they're.
were you going to Popeyes and Yellow
Submarine
Submarine and any of those other places, Pop Tunes?
Yeah.
You went in Yellow Submarine quite a bit.
Yeah, sometimes my mom would go grocery shopping across the street. I think it was Fred Montesi's, and when she'd go shopping, I'd walk across the street to Yellow Submarine, and
where the Kroger is now.
It's where Whole Foods is.
Okay.
That was like a Fred Montesi's.
Okay, so she would let you just free range.
A little bit. I was like in junior high, so
Yeah.
I'd walk over to Yellow Submarine, and they had it was like a head shop, record shop, posters, and all that stuff. And
Were you looking for an identity that was uniquely Memphis, or were you even in touch with the idea that I'm more interested in this national stuff that's happening? Or
yeah, I had no concept of really what being a Memphian was, honestly.
Well, we've all been there.
Yeah.
I think I'm about to experience that again.
Or what Memphis culture was about. I really didn't honestly become really aware of that till well up in the 80s.
What triggered that? I mean, you'd already been to the Well at that point.
Yeah, I'd been to the Well. I just didn't know that was something uniquely Memphis happening. You
thought every small or mid-range city had that.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, maybe they did. Well, not everyone. Though.
Yeah.
Not everyone. But did you travel to other places like Cleveland or?
No.
I just bring up Cleveland seems like adequately similar.
Yeah, not for a musical experience, but yeah, I got to, travel a little bit.
I was thinking about, like, Hannah today read off the cities that have the highest murder rates, and of course Memphis is at the top. And I was like, maybe we should go on like a tour, a murder city tour. Like people say Murder City, like trying to have some kind of image. But if you really went on a Murder City tour,
some bands should do that.
St. Louis, of course, that's pretty close.
Yeah, I think Little Rock has a really high crime rate, murder rate.
And okay, well, let's form a band.
Man, you wouldn't have to go far, I mean, right here in the South, it's,
I think Cleveland is in there somewhere. Well, you just weren't old enough, I guess. You were well-read. You were pretty intellectual.
Honestly, through junior high and high school, I was completely obsessed with motorcycles. And all through high school, I raced motorcycles and worked in motorcycle shops. And right after high school, I was in a really bad wreck and was kind of in and out of the hospital for a year or so. And that's kind of when I really started, kind of branching out musically, and just, it kind of filled a void, so to speak. And
how old were you when you had that?
I was like 18.
How did that happen?
It was just out, not in a race, but just a practice crash. And
what do you mean practice crash?
we were just out, a place we would go ride.
Oh, a remote place?
Yeah.
So you were with other riders?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow. I didn't have any. You've never told me that. I didn't know that.
Tried to forget it. But
did you have a helmet on?
Oh, I did. I did have a helmet.
Which is pretty rare, I would think, for the time, right?
No, we wore helmets,
Were you trying to jump a school bus? Or?
No, nothing too crazy. Just one of those things. And like I said, I really just didn't have much to do or any other interest outside of motorcycles. And, I started going out to hear music and things. And, I don't know, it just kind of always hung with me, but really about the mid-'80s, I really started getting into it a lot, and started working some over at River Records and with Jerry Gibson, and that was a real, learning experience. He got, some of the rarest records in the world came through there, honestly. He had, I remember once he got a stack of acetates, Memphis Recording Service acetates, and there was one for Rocket 88 it had some clips, outtake clips where they were working on the song, unreleased stuff, and he sold that on an auction at Sotheby's, I think, for about $18,500, and
that's cheap.
Yeah, and I mean, this was,
that's probably 30 years ago too.
Yeah. So
when you say acetate, you mean it was a disc?
Yes. Yeah.
Would it be like the one that's on the wall at Sun upstairs?
Yeah, like those.
And it would have a Memphis record pressing...
Memphis Recording Service.
Recording Service. Yeah.
Just like the Heathens and all those, so just cut straight there.
Yeah. Had a bunch of them, a lot of early blues stuff, James Cotton and stuff like that, these acetates, and some of them had alternate takes that weren't released, and just...
How many were made?
One?
Yeah, maybe one, yeah.
God, how could that even survive?
Yeah. So I saw a lot of great stuff in Jerry's shop and learned a lot. And as I got more and more into music, I kind of started becoming more Memphis-centric. And, kind of late 80s, I was just, full on into it. And it's like my life's ambition is to work in a record shop and go to shows and,
Was that your first introduction to, like, thinking a record was rare and valuable? Was there? Or because when you were younger,
No, I had got, kind of there in the late 70s, I was, buying records and,
But back then they weren't, like today, how crazy it is. But then you didn't think, oh, this is rare, valuable. You just was because...
Yeah, not so much.
Well, Sun Records were probably already...
Oh, yeah. There was a guy, that I can't think of his name right now. He started coming to Memphis from Ireland in the early 60s.
Wow.
And buying loads of records at Selecta-Hits back in their back room and taking them back overseas. And he had this mail order list. And that's how Sun Records, beyond, the handful of big names, really took off over there. Carl Perkins and Jerry Lee had releases in England, back on the days of Sun, but people like Ray Harris, Wade and Dick, Malcolm Yelvington, stuff like that, hadn't seen the light of day over there. And this guy started selling records, and man, it just took off, and people started coming over here then. So I mean, they got the jump on on the locals.
This is someone you heard about, you never met.
I didn't meet the guy. I can't think of his name right now for some reason. But,
I've heard stories like that too. People going to selected hits, and they would even find like the metal cut discs.
Yeah.
The whatever they're called. I can't really think of what they're called now, but they would just find so
there
much
was
stuff.
just that's how Jerry at River Records got his start. He would go to select hits, and you go in the back room, and he'd pull out these Sun 78s or like 50 cents, and he'd set up at the flea market, sell them for $5, and he thought, man, the easiest money I ever made in my life, and they put out 78s, the early blues stuff, and up into the rockabilly era, stuff would come out on 78 and 45 there for a while, and then 78s kind of went by the wayside.
When Shelby Singleton bought Sun, that's when all those like LPs started coming out.
Right.
There was so much different LPs and greatest hits and this that, and they were all because of Shelby Singleton, not because of Sam Phillips.
Because of Sam.
He only put out a handful of LPs. On Phillips had a handful, and there was only maybe 3 or 4 on Sun. All those other LPs came out after he sold.
He would have been giving more money to Jerry Lee or Johnny Cash jumped ship too pretty soon.
Those guys may not have really been getting much of anything because they were already off the label by then, so they might have been getting whatever small percentage, maybe like writing credits they had on the LPs, but other than that.
Some of those kind of, they had left, and their careers were taken off Columbia or whatever, so Sam still had their rights to their Sun stuff and was probably putting it out to kind of cash in on their newfound fame.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking. He still had the rights to do what he wanted to do. Well, but no, he had sold the masters to Shelby Singleton.
In 69, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Were you working at River Records when Sun Records opened back up? Or when you two came through, or what?
What happened at Sun, from my understanding, is around 78, Graceland took over the lease at 706 Union, and they put together a little tour thing, and honestly, it looked kind of lame. The pictures I've seen of it, it was just a few records and things on the wall, and they had a tour service, I think, with Gray Line Tours, and would take you around town to see Elvis sites, and one of the stops was 706 Union, and you'd go in, and a guy would tell you about how Elvis recorded there and move on, and it didn't look like they had done much to it, I mean, that Graceland had. I've only seen a couple of pictures.
The ceiling was there.
Can't really see in the pictures, but as far as I know, it always stayed intact. This was, I think, 79. It opened, and they had it up until 87, and then they got out of it, and this guy Gary Hardy took it over. And Gary had a little business out by Graceland where he had a little recording booth, and you'd go in and you'd make a recording to a backing track, go in and sing, Jailhouse Rock or whatever, and make you a cassette tape. So Gary got the lease on Sun, moved in, was setting it up more as a studio, and in walks Ringo Starr. Ringo records there, instant notoriety. Right after Ringo, this is 87 when Gary took it over.
So Ringo walked in, and this had nothing to do with Chip's Moment or the coming back later.
The first time he came to Sun and wanted to record. And then right after that, U2, at kind of the height of their career, they come in and record, and it's like, man, Sun's just all over the map. It really exploded down there. And but before that, Graceland tried to make a go of it, and it just really was.
So Gary bought it from Graceland?
He had the lease. He got the lease. Great. I don't know if their lease expired and he took it over, or exactly how that transpired. That was a couple of years before I started working there.
Okay. What year did you start?
I started, I think, in 90.
Okay.
I'd met a guy. I was working at River Records, Ray Sanders, and Ray was driving a shuttle bus for Sun, and he'd stop in River Records. But Ray had been in a 60s band here, the Village Sound, and he was in Paris Pilot, and he was in Load of Mischief that had the last single on Sun. I believe
Load
that right?
of Mischief?
Was that the last one? Yeah. Load of Mischief. He was just a really great guy, a lot of fun, and he was driving the shuttle bus, and I thought, well, Sun, I've never even been down there, So I went down there and took the tour, and then I went back and, dropped off a resume, and they called me and hired me, and, so.
You're like, I I could make this place run better, man.
Yeah.
Well, were you ever the manager?
It's son. We had a record shop at the time upstairs, you know, and I managed
Memphis
the record
Music,
shop.
Memphis?
Yeah.
That's when I met you. You were still running that.
Yeah.
I think I met you in 91 or 2 at Barrister's, probably.
What year did you come to Memphis?
Oh, God. Well, I came in 84 to go to art school.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right.
But I was into hardcore punk rock scene, or just, you know, Replacements, that kind of stuff, and then thrilled when they came here, and had a band that played the antenna, of course, and but as you said earlier, it takes you a while for the Memphis-centric thing to soak in.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the antenna was kind of going downhill, and somehow Barristers picked up the mantle.
Yeah.
But my first memory of you, I think it's the first one, maybe it was Southern Culture on the Skids at Barristers, or one of those.
Seemed like they were playing here about every other week for a while.
Well, you know, and I'm sure you were there for the first Oblivians gig.
Oh, yeah. The PP and the Nail Drivers.
So I remember you dancing. I remember you cutting a little bit of a rug, a Jim Cole rug, like very confined, contained.
Okay.
You were into it, and I'm like, who's that? Like blonde-haired greaser over there, because you know you had your look going on then, and your black T-shirt or whatever, your muscle shirt, whatever.
Right.
And Cindy Blair.
Oh yeah.
I think I probably met her that night, and she wound up in Teenage Tupelo. And
oh yeah.
It was a genesis of us getting wasted and watching bands play, and me beginning to come around as an artist, or think that I could pull some things off with your help, of course.
You were already doing the Kid Anarchy.
Yes, started that in 88, 89. Very slow artist. Never hit a deadline.
Yeah. It's funny how they're kind of the late 80s, say, 87 to 90. It just seemed like there was such a big transition in the kind of Midtown music scene. You know, of course, you know, the Sun.
Well, you were there starting at Sun, and you said 90?
In 90, yeah. I think I started in 90.
But you were still sort of... Would you catch the periphery of what hipsters there were, or cool kids or punks or whatever coming into River Records?
Yeah, I was, late 80s, I was real into going to shows, just pretty much all kinds, going out to the blues clubs, going to, whatever, punk rock shows to... I was really more into kind of roots-oriented stuff, honestly, at the time.
Well, you were getting there.
Yeah, I was getting there. But, it's like, kind of there right there in the late 80s. You had, Tav left town, and he kind of, so much of the 80s music scene in Midtown revolved around him. And, he went to Europe to become a avant-garde artist and lived in Paris and Vienna, whatever. And Chilton had kind of backed away from the Memphis scene a lot. He had lived here in the 80s, but he had moved to, I think, Hohenwald, Tennessee at one time. And then he, of course, settled in New Orleans. But, early mid-80s, I saw Chilton play a lot. And then he just seemed like by the late 80s, he really wasn't around that much. And Shangri-La opened, and, they shifted into selling records there at the end of the 80s. And, Eric Friedel moved to town. Jeff Evans moved to town. It just seemed like a lot was going on and changing, kind of leading up to what was, kind of a little musical renaissance there in the 90s, I thought.
But you had already been observing Memphis music for 2 decades. Yeah,
somewhat, but I didn't realize it till kind of then, later 80s, that this was all kind of connected and what it meant. And really a big point in that was Jim Jarmusch came to town and made Mystery Train.
I was not living here then.
Man, that was really put all the pieces together, connected all the dots in a way that I had never imagined, and it just like, wow, I see it now. I mean, this is it. And and so many people have come to Memphis because of that film.
But you felt that way. He just kind of...
Yeah, it's like a lot of this I'm thinking and seeing and interested in, and wow, here he comes and like really,
Not necessarily with Japanese people.
well, not necessarily, but that was a big part of it. That this international love and attention, Memphis got.
Well, it would have to be from outside, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So did you notice that by the late 70s, the concert scene, international concert scene bookings were falling off?
I wasn't that aware of it, honestly,
No.
of the scene as a whole,
Like after Bowie performed in 79, for instance, he never came back. And that's just odd, considering, he was yet to have his biggest hits.
Well, another weird one is the Cramps.
Yeah.
They come here and record.
Yeah.
They do that big show at the Orpheum with the Panther Burns and the Clits. I don't know that they ever even played here much. They played here in the 90s at the New Daisies.
92 or 3 they came back finally.
Yeah, but did they do any shows here? Do you ever?
None that I'm aware of.
But they were so into Memphis music, and they recorded so many, Memphis songs.
Well, I was gonna ask you, back to the Jarmusch thing? Did you meet any of those people?
I didn't, but I would go around town. You would hear they were, filming somewhere, and you'd go, "Oh, I'm going to see." Some actor or Joe Strummer or somebody, and of course it's just people standing around.
So you didn't make an attempt to go to the clubs to run into the filming situations or anything?
You would be out and hope you might.
Were you living at the Arcade Hotel?
I was not.
When it was torn down? Well, and what about with the Cramps? Did you meet any people involved in that synergy?
No.
Happening?
No.
Not even Ross?
When that happened, no. I didn't, like I said, late 70s. I didn't know anyone or anything.
Do you kick yourself for not being more like into it or?
Well, I would love to have been more into it, more aware, but
not sure what would have come of that.
Yeah, true.
Well, did you know or do you know Kevin Webster?
I don't know Kevin Webster.
Well, he was friends with Cindy Blair, and he went to the art school. He lives in San Francisco now. Great digital artist. He makes paper mache masks and all kinds of practical effects and things. But he occasionally will send me a picture of the Cramps in Memphis that I've never seen before.
Oh, wow.
That supposedly, I guess you could say, was taken by Tav, maybe? I don't know who took them exactly. And then, of course, Ross tells his stories of how they discovered Goo Goo Muck as a single here. It's the first time they heard it was at a fish fry at one of Ross's,
Oh, wow.
These obscure people that had these record collections that someone like Ross could take Ivy and Lux to, and
you just would have thought that they would love Memphis and would want to come here. They did. They recorded songs by Charlie Feathers, Hayden Thompson, Roy Orbison, Elvis. There's that song Bop Pills, Macy Skipper that was cut at Sun that they covered.
It's pretty amazing how many covers they actually did.
Who was the bigger influence, Sam Phillips or Cordell Jackson?
On the Cramps?
So she was more of a punk rocker.
Man, I'm telling you. But one song that they did, a Memphis song that's really good is, what was the band? The Runabouts. The Cramps changed the title of the song. I think the Runabouts was...
it was on this label, wasn't it? The Runabouts was on the Memphis label.
Yeah, it was on the Memphis label.
Yeah.
I can't think of... The Cramps version is called The Strangeness in Me, but the Runabouts is... can't think right now.
How do you suppose they heard that record?
I don't know.
Must
That's
have been here.
Pretty obscure record,
Yeah.
But they do like a real straight up cover of the song. It's not real, Lux going nuts or anything. It's like this kind of moody, creepy little song, and it's really good. But that's a great Memphis cover they did. But it seemed like there was so much Memphis influence, and they just never really were around much.
Well, like on Songs the Lord Taught Me, I was doing this research to write a screenplay about Chilton producing the Cramps, based on stuff Ross had told me, because he told me some crazy stuff. Like Lux was stationed in Millington in the Navy here.
You're kidding.
In 1967.
Wow.
So you didn't know that?
Never heard that.
Could Ross be making that up? Because that's just too much.
Wow.
So then in my mind, I conflate that with okay, that's why he wanted Chilton to produce the record, because maybe he saw the Box Tops. Frank, how much did the Box Tops play in Memphis in '67?
Probably not many times. I know they did play here a few times, but they toured nationally, so they probably played out about more than they ever played here.
Right.
But you talk about the influence of Memphis music on the Cramps, and Alex Chilton produced them. They had to have already been into this before they met Alex Chilton. That just had to be the icing on the cake.
Of course, yeah.
To come here and go to Sun with Alex Chilton, they had to have already known all the songs and knew all this.
But they would have been more into the Box Tops than Big Star.
Not big. Well,
that's what I'm saying. Just because of his geographic,
but he was
proximity.
getting into. But he was already getting into his own little, his version, his punk thing when they saw him in New York, because he was living in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they eventually played on the same bills together.
Well, maybe later.
Chilton and the Cramps.
Yeah. In New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Later. Maybe after I'm not sure about that. Someone will have to call in, Dennis, and tell us.
And Panther Burns and the Cramps to me kind of go together. They were like the Memphis kind of playing the rockabilly and the Cramps. So who influenced who?
Yeah. It's weird. The Panther Burns were more of a art scene, where the Cramps were just like,
I just thought they were noise, noise.
Yeah.
I was trying to discern any sort of traditional aspect.
Yeah.
But being progressive has nothing to do with that.
But I think in New York, they were probably also considered part of the art scene as well, I believe.
The Cramps?
Yeah.
Or a throwback.
Yeah.
You reach the point with punk where throwback is progressive. But like with Chilton's introduction to Tav, if you're using a chainsaw or a buzz cutting saw, whatever, to cut a guitar in half, you're obviously not concerned about any. I keep thinking about the insurance policy there, like the strings flying away and striking people in the audience. It's like, geez, okay, nothing happened.
Probably make everybody wear, eye protection.
Or you put the plastic shield up on the stage, but nobody was into that either. It's like, containing drum sound.
I have a question to go off topic for Jim. We're talking about your early days and records and all your music. When did the photography come to play? When did you start getting into taking pictures and going to shows, or were you taking pictures then you start taking pictures at shows? When did that start?
Actually, in the 90s, I was, my interest in photography was really more historical. I started doing like photo research for projects and things, and this is like in the days before scanners. You would had like a little stand you'd put your camera on, and if you want to make a copy of a photo, you'd put the photo down, take a picture of it, then take your negative and print off that. You didn't scan it and make prints. So I was doing a lot of that, and
in your own house.
In my house and other places. I was doing some stuff for the Center for Southern Folklore and places.
So you went out and invested in equipment and.
No, I had a camera that I'd gotten back in the 70s.
Yeah.
And
is that the camera you always used in the 90s?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
So
what kind of camera was it?
A Canon.
Yeah.
And it wasn't anything real special. Just kind of.
Yeah.
And I think Jeff Evans asked me to take some photos. 68 Comeback was practicing. They had just gotten together and they were practicing in one of those mini storage places down in Union. They had one set up, for bands to practice in, with extra electrical outlets.
Okay, now hold on. So how did you know Jeff Evans?
Well, I met Jeff. I had gotten into the Gibson Brothers. They came here and played at one of the Counterfest, which was a thing that happened several times, sort of a alternative to
I don't think I went to any of those.
Yeah, these were kind of mid '80s, and the Gibson Brothers came probably maybe in '86.
Maybe I didn't know what rockabilly was in mid '80s.
Well, Jeff came to town, and he had like this big giant pompadour and a big giant old Cadillac, and man, I thought, wow, I was kind of starstruck. So, he's
you
Gibson
had your
Brothers.
Rockabilly look by then too, didn't you?
Yeah. And I thought Jeff was just like, something really special, which I still do. And
he's gregarious.
And we got to be friends, and that was kind of a big deal for me, really, getting to know Jeff. I thought he was, But he started 68 Comeback, and they were practicing, and he asked me to come take some pictures just because I happened to have a camera handy. And
he saw you with a camera.
Yeah. And but I'd never really taken any photos or anything. And again, my interest in photography is really more historical. I got to do a lot of photo research for Bear Family Records, and I worked on projects with like CNN and the Smithsonian, and
that's a whole interview right there.
Yeah, I got a Playboy magazine. I was on their Christmas card lists for a while. I was never 100% comfortable with it, but it was cool and fun, and just really an excuse
comfortable with taking photos.
Yeah, but it was an excuse to be around the music and stuff. Really,
So were you already taking your camera to shows, or just because people asked you to bring your camera?
I never really did until the 90s.
Hey guys, I'm sorry. Eric Friedel's calling.
Uh-oh.
Eric Friedel. Can you hear me? Hold on.
Speaker?
Okay, here we go. Now can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
We're surprising Jim Cole right now with a phone call from Eric Friedel, a.k.a. Eric Oblivion.
Wow, I feel like I'm on the radio. Can you hear me, Eric?
I hear him back there.
Yeah, we're not really set up for a phone call, so that's why we do it.
What's your request?
I was wondering about that. Yeah, it's pretty high tech.
We actually invoked your name, band, whatever, but because we were talking about the old days.
It's what we do now. We're old.
We didn't tell Jim about this at all, of course, but I wanted Eric to call in because we were talking a lot about the punk rock stuff of the 70s and then, of course, through the 80s, and then about how Barristers was happening and how, I don't know where you met Jim, but I met him at Barristers. Where did you meet him?
I probably met him through Shangri-La, really.
Yeah.
River Records, Shangri-La, Jeff Evans, just hanging around that kind of thing.
Well, your timing is perfect because we were just talking about Jeff Evans and Counterfest, and that's where Jim met Jeff.
Right. Yeah, I never got to a Counterfest somehow, as far as I remember.
I didn't either.
They stopped right before I came.
Right, and there was maybe three of them, three years ago?
Maybe so. It wasn't a long running series or anything, but yeah.
So I guess we won't keep you on the phone too long, but I wanted to sort of do an awkward segue into the song that you wrote about Jim. Can you mention that real quick?
Sure. Yeah, well, one of the things is when you're not really a musician and you don't really have anything to say in your songs, you can write songs about people that you know. I found that pretty early, and I thought that was pretty fun. So, I wrote a song about Jim. Luckily, his last name rhymes with a lot of things, and it's about 30 seconds long, and kind of the perfect song.
And he had already taken pictures of you guys?
Yeah, I think Jim was taking pictures at the antenna and that kind of thing, but we wrote those songs really just goofing around. Probably 93, 92, 93, something like that. So,
how in fact did you know that Jim Cole had too much soul?
I think it just rhymed. Well, we knew it. We did know it, but once you put the song together, it just made so much sense, and it was so true. You had to go with it. Yeah.
Well, so this is a nerd question, I guess, but how many versions exist of that song? What album did it appear on?
The Soul Food
Soul
album.
Food, okay.
Yeah.
So did you ever have any other version of it that appeared on any other record?
We might have done the single version, might have had piano or something on it. I think we did Vietnam War Blues with piano. But I think it's the same, It was also, for the Oblivians, I was really messing with Jack and Greg because they were totally 4/4, and the Jim Cole beat is like a mutant John Spencer kind of, it's very herky-jerky and not very Oblivions. So that was kind of fun.
It was covered by a couple of bands.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a guy in France that covered it for a Sub Pop single. which was funny because me and Andrea, I think Andrea Lyle came up with the song when we were goofing around with some band that we were trying to do. So I credited her, and she got royalties. I mean, both of us got royalties of like 13 cents for,
You're welcome.
5 years. Yeah, there you go, Jim. You got nothing out of it. So we owe you half of that, something like that.
So how was the news delivered that this song had been written about you, Jim?
I've got a cassette it was a split cassette with the Oblivians and Impala. I think it was on that. Yeah. Is that right?
What do you think the first time?
That was the first Goner release, I think.
Oh, wow.
What did you think the first time you heard it?
I thought it was awesome. I mean,
Lawsuit. All right, well, we're going to play actually, we haven't played a song yet. We've been talking for about an hour or so, and we're going to play that now. And I want to thank you for calling in. And Jim, you got anything to say to Eric?
Yeah, I got one question for Eric. Before you came to Memphis, you knew Sherman, and was he doing Creature Comforts before then? Weren't you writing some for Creature Comforts?
Yeah, there was after.
As the Chiz?
I knew him for a year in college, and then he left the college I was at. But we kept in touch, and we kind of did a fanzine in the time. Well, I think we were going to college and a little bit afterward before I came to Memphis. So, yeah, we had that magazine going.
Were you writing as the Chiz?
I think that wasn't a nickname I used for myself. Okay. I think that's what Sherman had kind of dubbed me. Okay. So it was sort of reluctantly. Maybe my nom de plume.
But anyway, thanks for calling in. And
all right, thanks, Jim. Enjoy. Glad you like the song.
Oh man,
it's brought us pennies over the years. So
highlight of my life, man. I'm telling you.
Hopefully some free drinks in bars for you in the right place.
All right.
I think there ought to be a Jim Cole photo book out, but what do I know,
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Thank you, Eric. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have fun. Bye.
Bye. Well, pulled one on you, I guess. So let's go to Jim Cole's Got Too Much Soul by the Oblivians, and we'll be right back.
Jim Cole's got too much soul. I can't stand it. Jim Cole's got so much soul. I can't stand him. I can't stand it. Jim Cole's got too much soul. I can't stand it. Jim Cole's got so much soul. I can't stand him. I can't stand it. No. I can't stand it. No. Soul. Jim Cole.
All right, that was Jim Cole's Got Too Much Soul by the Oblivians. Thanks to Eric for calling in and setting that up. Do you have this rare cassette somewhere where you can grab it?
I might. Yeah, I might put my hands on that, yeah.
Do you have like a library, a vault, a museum? What's your place look like?
I just got some shelves of records. I've kind of kept it manageable over the years. It's ebbed and flowed the number of records I have, but I kind of got.
He keeps all the Engelbert and Perry Como on top.
Yeah,
and then the rest
alphabetical.
Herb Albert, then Herb Albert, and then the rest.
Yeah, Wait, you speak like you've been over there.
Oh yeah, I've been eyeing those Engelberts for years.
Oh, okay. How many records do you have?
Not
1,000.
I'm no Frank Bruno, let me tell you. But
well, no one's Frank Bruno.
I don't have a huge collection. It's funny. I've gotten to where it seems like all I buy are 45s pretty much anymore. I don't know.
Frank, how many records does he have?
1,000.
Yeah.
Maybe. How many do you have, Dennis?
Probably 2,000 or 3,000.
Yeah.
He keeps his in the closet. where the cat can't get to them.
So I know you've told me this before, and if you would even mention it, but you said you had a bunch, and then you went through a phase where you got rid of a bunch.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you got rid of that you wish you hadn't, or can you remember anything like key pieces or key things you got rid of that you maybe got back or never got back, or things you wish you'd not gotten rid of?
I had some really nice 78s I sold. I had moved a couple times, and I'm like, God, you take a $500 78 and you set it down wrong, and now it's got a crack and didn't work anything. And I'm not playing them, so I would still like to have them, even though I don't really play them. I had a Beatles Butcher cover once I sold, and I mean, I got good money for it, but I'd still like to have it,
I've only sold like 5 records in my life, and I wish I had all those back. So.
But you keep your stuff in a rather small, I mean, unless you weren't showing me everything. You have a small room where you contain everything.
Most of it's
seemingly.
Most of it's in one room. A lot of it's in closets where you can't even see it, and then I have another shelf upstairs of records.
You need to have a larger house.
I probably have around 6,000.
6,000?
At least.
So earlier, I don't know if I should bring this up, you said that you've had conversations with Jim about records that no one has ever heard. Conversations before.
I've probably shown Jim more of my stuff than I've ever shown anybody. I've probably sent him pictures I've never shown anybody else.
Keep talking.
Yeah.
Stuff you can't even talk about.
I don't remember what it was, but yeah, I guarantee
you don't want people to know.
He's seen more of what I have than anybody else.
You don't want people to know what you got.
Mostly, yeah.
I wanted to go back to another point from 40 minutes ago. You said that when you took the tour at Sun in 79?
No, I didn't go till Sun till late 80s. But Sun reopened in 79. I
thought you said you took the bus tour.
Oh, I did not. I had met in the late 80s a guy driving the shuttle bus for Sun.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, have you seen that photograph? I think it's in Chilton's biography where he's taking the tile off the wall or off the ceiling.
I haven't seen that.
I was going to ask you.
Around that time.
Huh?
79, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
79, yeah.
So, but the story that's painted in the book, if I recall correctly, is that they kind of broke in.
Yeah.
But maybe they didn't if there was a tour going on.
Was it always Sun though? Wasn't it a restaurant or was it something after he sold it? Was it always just empty or what?
No, I think there was some type of automotive thing there, and then
it was next door to the Radiator place.
Yeah, and then the guy, there was a guy here, Buford Cody. I believe he was also a barber, like Mr. Ellis.
So after all these years of it being Sun, it was a few things before.
In fact, there is a Memphis Label 45 that lists the address as 706 Union, and that was this guy, Buford Cody, had a barber shop there for a little while. But I don't think the building itself got too much disturbed on the inside, like you're mentioning the ceiling and whatnot. I don't know how long it sat vacant when Graceland took it over, but nothing was happening there.
But these various people, like even, the legendary scuba shop that was supposed to have been in there, they didn't have the right to change anything. They didn't own the building. They leased it from somebody.
Yeah, I think a family owned it for many, many years. I don't know. I think
one family.
In fact, Gary Hardy was leasing it, and he partnered with, what's the guy's name that owns it now?
Oh, Shore, the Shores.
Yeah. They partnered, and I think after Gary was out of the picture, they were able to buy the building, as far as I know.
Yeah.
One of the, my grandfather, the police officer, one of his partner's family owned the restaurant that was right there. And the lady had sent
Taylor's?
Taylor's.
Yeah.
Yeah, she sent me a picture that my grandfather had drawn of him, and they owned that restaurant, the Taylor's. I never knew anything.
Your grandfather did?
My grandfather was... One of the policemen with him was one of the family that owned that restaurant.
On Taylor. Oh, okay,
yes. So I never even knew until she told me about knowing my grandfather and then talked about the restaurant right there.
Miss Taylor?
Yeah.
Wow.
At Sun Studios.
I talked to her once on the phone. I wanted to try and meet her. I was working at Sun, and she was, pretty old, and it never really happened, but, I'd ask her about her memories and stuff, and I just remember saying, Roy Orbison loved the chicken fried steak.
Then he'd go upstairs
Yeah.
Because it was Memphis was a boarding house for Orbison, right?
Yeah.
And other people. That was just part of something I always remembered. Well, I did the tours there. We all have friends. Eric worked there. Kristen, of course.
Yeah.
Jack, Scott Taylor. I don't know what period you were there with all these maybe familiar faces.
I was there before them.
Yeah.
Alicia Trout worked there when I did.
Really?
And so did Susie Hendricks.
Okay.
So,
Any famous people come through while you were there?
Oh, my God. It was so many Sun artists still around at that period.
Right.
Of course, I got to meet Sam Phillips a number of times. And
Did he know you by name?
No, but...
You don't think?
No, I got to go to his house once when Robert Palmer interviewed him for some kind of documentary and got to sit in on that. And, I met Ike Turner and James Cotton and Charlie Feathers and Roscoe Gordon and, Scotty Moore, Carl Perkins, Jerry Lee, just,
Johnny Cash?
I never met Johnny Cash.
Johnny just didn't come around, did he?
No, he didn't. Mm-mm. He didn't.
That bad blood.
Kristen got...
yeah,
phone pals with him, but
right. What was Roscoe Gordon like?
Man, he was awesome.
Did he come in with a chicken?
No, he did not have the chicken.
Jim offered him some cheese and crackers.
I asked him about the chicken, and he said, the chicken's name was Butch, I think, and he said, when he died, we had like an actual funeral for him and everything, and
Didn't Hayden Thompson write cheese and cheese and crackers? I think he did.
Somebody odd like that wrote it.
Because when I was there in 2003 to 2007, they were really thinning out at that point. But I got to be pen pals with Hayden, and I'm pretty sure that he wrote cheese and crackers.
Yeah.
And I was trying to find out the biological identity of my father at the time. Of course, I would go through patches where I would be really into it, and then I just wouldn't. And I remember having this conversation with Hayden in the mail. Like, he wrote me back and said, "Mike, I'm not your father."
Cheese and Crackers is one of my favorites, and that's one of the few that I actually have. I have the 78 and the 45.
Nice.
Okay.
But I was on one afternoon, for some reason, I was on Bill Street, and I heard some music playing, and it's like, wow, it's Roscoe Gordon. It's like, God, it sounds like it's live. And I looked in, and some guys were doing a little film about him, and he was set up in a club performing, and I was looking in the glass, and the guy waved me in, one of the camera dudes, and I got to meet him and said, "Man, I work at Sun Studio, you should come down." And he came down to Sun, and they wanted to shoot some footage in there, but for some reason Gary wouldn't let them, and I don't know. Yeah, it was a low budget project for sure. But he looked just like he did in the 50s. He's still slender, but it's like, you saw him. It's like, man, that's Roscoe Gordon.
So you're walking down Beale Street and you hear some piano music and you go, "Hey, that sounds like Roscoe Gordon."
Yeah, exactly.
How many people would have done that?
Oh Lord! Well, what was Ike like?
I met him at Club Paradise. He was going to do a show there in the early 90s, and I was dating Dallas Browning at the time, and Dallas and I went down to Club Paradise, and it's a huge club. It was built as a bowling alley, and the bowling alley never opened, and then it became Club Paradise, and it was iconic, club through the 60s and whatnot, and we go down there, and like there's nobody there. I mean, it's like, God, did they cancel the show? What's going on? So we went back to the Antenna, and then thought, well, let's go back by, Club Paradise. And I'm looking in the window, the door's locked, and here comes Ike Turner walking out. And he came out, and we talked to him in the parking lot, and I told him I worked at Sun, and he should come down, and he didn't come down, but got to hang out and talk with him a little bit, and he was real nice and everything. Now Andrea Lyle got to know Ike pretty well, I think, and got to hang out with him a good bit.
And what year was that?
Early 90s.
Because he came through in 90, I want to say 7, 8.
Yeah.
And we met him at the Gibson Guitar Lounge.
Yeah.
He was there with his girlfriend, the new Tina, whoever she was. And we took a picture, Kim and I took a picture with him that stayed on our refrigerator for a long time. But it was just very brief.
Yeah.
And he was very gracious and all that.
Yeah.
And I still want to read Taking Back My Name.
I haven't read that either.
That's on my list of
Yeah.
books I'll eventually get around to.
Yeah, he's never going to live down the
Hollywood image.
Yeah. But I mean, he's big.
Is that why nobody was at his show?
Probably. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just.
Did he address that? Was he disappointed?
Yeah, he was a little disappointed that that there wasn't enough people to even have the show. But you'd have to have a lot of people down there to even to look like something. But I used to go down to Club Paradise a bit there in the '90s. They were having some good shows, and gotten to be friends with Rufus Thomas, and he would MC shows down there. And sometimes I would go pick Rufus up, and we would go down to Club Paradise, and it'd be Bobby Rush and kind of whatnot. Well, one show I went to was Rudy Ray Moore was on the bill, and that was pretty awesome.
Was he selling records?
He was selling some kind of booklet he had.
A booklet.
I can't remember what it was. I didn't get one, but
another missed opportunity.
Yeah, I know. Not telling what that was about, but they've tried to revive Club Paradise in the last several years, and I don't even know if it's open right now.
So where would it have been located?
It's on Georgia. It's on Georgia, kind of a little south of downtown, and south of Vance, just a little bit.
Do you have any of those silkscreen posters?
I got a number of posters.
Yeah,
not early ones, but
right.
It had a pretty long run then, didn't it?
Yeah, they were open up into the. I think I'm not sure what a guy Sunbeam Mitchell opened it, and he had the Mitchell Hotel on Beale Street, and his wife Ernestine Mitchell had Ernestine and Hazel's.
Oh,
and
wait, Sunbeam Mitchell's wife was Ernestine.
Yeah.
Okay.
When you go in there and you see those little, I guess they still have them in there, those little bandstand things that have CP on it. That was Club Paradise.
Oh, okay. I never knew that.
Yeah.
Things you learned from Jim Cole.
I know.
Yeah, but she had it, in the early 90s, she was still running it, and it was like a little, place crawling with prostitutes, and
Well, yeah. Where was Hazel? Who was Hazel?
I don't know.
Well, I mistook Ernestine and Hazel to be the prostitutes, but it was other prostitutes. It was prostitutes that hung out at Ernestine and Hazel.
Maybe so. Yeah. There was a lot of prostitution there for sure. Yeah, even in the early 90s.
It just doesn't strike me as a prostitution corner.
Downtown.
I mean,
really until. Well up in the 90s, it was still South Main and all was still pretty undeveloped, and
sure.
It's
just like, but as a tourist site, okay, are you haunted or did you have prostitutes? It's like one or the other.
Haunted
prostitutes.
Yeah, they got it all.
So you saw Memphis go through all these changes. You were like down there in the 80s when it was a ghost town.
Yeah.
But you would frequent places and try to support places.
Yeah, somewhat. Yeah.
And take pictures.
I didn't really start taking pictures till the 90s.
Until the 90s.
Yeah.
How many?
Now a couple of times I did. I went to a blues festival around 1980 or so in Greenville, Mississippi, and it was like this homecoming for Muddy Waters.
Wow.
And I did take a few photos at that, and there was. Still at that time, there was people that recorded back in the 20s, still out doing festivals in 1980. I mean, but they had a great festival, and first of all, I saw Bobby Rush, and he was like back in his, crazed, coked up days, and man, it was insane. He came out like in this gold lame jumpsuit. He'd run off stage, come out in a silver one, run off stage, come back in a green one, and. But the rest of the acts were real traditional blues, except for him. But man, people just went bonkers when he was on stage.
I was blown away that was Buddy Guy in Sinners, the movie.
Oh, yeah, I haven't seen Sinners, but yeah,
I haven't seen it either.
That's Buddy Guy playing.
Buddy Guy was still alive.
Man, he's pretty old in the movie, but that's the whole point.
I saw Buddy Guy live. Not
to do a spoiler alert, but as a young man, there's an actor. But then when it goes to the end, I think by now we can talk about Sinners.
Yeah.
Pretty popular. Yeah, I was totally blown away because you see him playing and you're like, how did they cast that guy? Who is that guy? And then I'm like, oh my God. Because I'd seen him at Memphis. We'd seen him in Memphis in May, something like that.
Yeah.
But we did not seek out blues artists per se. And a lot of it just came down to economics. We couldn't afford to go out and do those kind of things, even though it was relatively cheap.
It used to really be cheap, like in the late 70s when I really, was first kind of going out to hear music. I mean, there were some fantastic blues festivals, and even you would go to, might have a stage set up at Overton Square and, have some music like they typically do, but it'd be like Booker White and Furry Lewis and just some phenomenal blues artists.
And you took pictures?
I did not take pictures.
I have a Buddy Guy story.
All right.
We lived in Chicago from about 1984 to 94, and we lived in Hyde Park near University of Chicago. And there was a Montessori school there just down the street that our kids went to. We lived there. And Buddy Guy's son, Jabari, went to school there. So we would see Buddy Guy at PTA meetings. And he was a really cool guy. And he would bring his guitar and play for the kids.
Wow.
At the school. And I thought, gosh, this is really really cool.
Wow.
and just a really super nice guy. And I don't think he hardly ever missed a PTA meeting, and really participated a lot with the school and everything.
Yeah, but getting to see him in a setting like that as opposed to like on a big stage somewhere, that's incredible.
Yeah. So
Well,
I never will forget that.
But was he a Memphian to begin with?
No.
Where was he from to begin with?
I'm not sure, but he wasn't.
I assumed he was from Chicago, but I don't know that for a fact.
Okay. Well, just by me seeing him in Memphis in May, I thought he had Southern roots, but I didn't know. But, like you said, you went out when you were a kid and bought a Muddy Waters record. I bought some kind of compilation of Howlin' Wolf, Muddy Waters, a lot of people, Sonny Boy Williamson, Charlie Patton, and it had just a wolf baying on the cover of it.
Yeah.
Again, Frank, I would love to find that record. It seems like it was blue as well. I just didn't know that they were literally in my backyard or hill country or Delta, whatever, but it was still just a short distance away.
Yeah, it's funny, when I kind of sort of becoming more Memphis aware and whatnot, I started, seeing what an integral part music was of just Memphis culture in general. I had, there was a teacher I had in 8th grade, Joanne Spain at Colonial Junior High, and she was the music teacher. It was the only music class I ever took. And come to find out in the mid-'80s that, wow, she had a recording career. She put out records as Joanne Touchstone, and she was one of the writers of the Savad record. But she'd had a local, kind of a regional hit with a song called Walk Softly that was written, I think it came out in 64.
The song Joanne Touchstone, we were talking about Walk Softly, was written by Bob Simon, who was in Randy and the Radiants with Randy Haspel, so we should play Walk Softly by Joanne Touchstone.
You've got to walk softly, I say, don't stomp your feet. You might wake him up and then we'd be in for a treat. You've never seen my dad mad and you're lucky you ain't, 'cause I guarantee he's no saint and he might frown, so keep it down. 'Cause I wanna make love to you under the sky so blue. But if you don't watch out, you might hear a shout from my father's room, and that means doom for both of us. We'd better make us a plan in case he walks in and sees me holding your hand. We'll run if we can, 'cause I know he won't understand. So walk on softly, I said walk on softly. she walks in and sees me holding your hand. We'll run if we can, 'cause I know he won't understand. So walk on softly, I said walk on softly, I want you walk on softly, yeah, oh, now walk on softly, I want you walk on softly.
Bob Simon.
Yeah, Bob
Randy
Simon
and the
wrote it.
Radiants.
I think he was still at East High School at the time.
Really?
64. What grade would he have been in? Maybe 11th grade or something? 10th grade?
Well, maybe, because they put out the Sun 45 in, what, like 66? So they
Yeah.
could have been around that age, yeah, or a little older.
But this, I think the record came out in 64, so he was still at East High School, and then
Wait, so Mrs. Spain was your music teacher at Colonial Junior High?
Colonial Junior High, yeah.
Okay, because we tried to do some new research. Ron Hall had written an essay on the Savard Berry's rock and roll record initially, but there was only so much info, and we knew it was there. It was just elusive. Wow, okay. I didn't know that that's another missing piece of the Savard puzzle.
Yeah.
I've seen a photo of her. She was not a bad looking.
Yeah, she was. I mean, she was a much beloved teacher. You know, everybody liked her, and she was real attractive and just super cool. This class was kind of, half music appreciation, half, you would have to sing, and it's like, God, you had to get up in front of the class and sing. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe I had to do this. And then, Frank alluded to another person. I bought this rockabilly compilation album from the Netherlands, real obscure Memphis stuff. Look on the cover, and there's this guy, and it's like Bobby McDowell. Man, that was my Sunday school teacher, And he had a recording career, and he put out some great records.
Just a rockabilly album of Memphis stuff from the Netherlands. This is like a stand-up routine.
But it's
almost,
like, I started, discovering, like, man, it's just like in all walks of life, everybody was a musician in Memphis.
Well, what did he do on the record?
He had a number of songs, a number of records out. One really good one that Frank turned me on to is it Running Away on ABC Paramount? That Jerry, it was written by Charlie Feathers, came out in the early 60s, really good track. But he was on... had one on the Supreme label.
That's the rare kind of one. And
Yeah.
a few common ones on Bell and that ABC one.
Yeah, but he was on pretty big labels.
And he had one on Bingo, the Goldwax
Yeah.
label.
Oh yeah.
Well, did you have a chance to talk to him about that?
I did.
Yeah.
He became Dr. Bob McDowell and taught broadcasting at University of Memphis, and he was.
You know him, Dennis?
He ran the radio station there for when they had the WUMR at University of Memphis, and he used to do a lot of voiceover stuff. You would hear him at the airport, like no parking in the blue zone.
When I was at of course then it was Memphis State.
Yeah.
But I worked it was WTGR was the campus station. Now this was back in the early 70s, and I don't remember him.
Yeah, I don't know what year. He worked for WDIA for a long time, in some sort of administrative capacity. He wasn't an on-air person, of course, but yeah, I mean, I saw his picture on there. I was like, oh, God, that's my Sunday school teacher.
Can we play one of those records?
Yeah, Running Away on ABC Paramount is a really good one.
Let's do that.
And that, like I said, Charlie Feathers and Jerry Huffman wrote that. Jerry Huffman was Charlie Feathers' guitar player on all the classic rockabilly stuff.
Tell me that you love me, but if you really love me, you couldn't treat me this way. I don't understand why you hold my hand, then you go running away. Running away, you leave me to stay. I couldn't treat you that way. I don't understand why you hold my hand. Go running running away. Where is it that you go running to? Is it to somebody new? Running away, I want you to stay. I don't want to run after you. Running away, lead me to stay. I couldn't treat you that way. I don't understand why you hold my hand and you go running away.
So we've been talking about blues and rockabilly. What about the garage? I know you're a huge garage guy. I don't know if you knew about them or saw any of those bands back when they were around, but when did you start discovering like the Memphis garage bands and collecting garage records?
I've really started getting into garage stuff kind of mid '80s. Like Standells, Moving Sidewalks, stuff like that, and not. Started becoming aware of some of the Memphis bands, but it took a while. It just all that information is not at your fingertips like it is now. So it was really kind of took a bit before I figured all that out. But yeah, I really liked garage rock because it's kind of what I grew up on. The kids, Parveer and the Raiders, stuff like that was big when I was a kid. I always liked them.
Yeah.
And
well, they played here a lot.
Yeah, one thing I was not really aware there in the mid '80s of all these kind of new bands that were like playing '60s garage music at the time. There was kind of a big movement of that had been going on, but I really wasn't into it.
Were you an influence on like Greg Cartwright and them that were covering Memphis garage songs? Did they hear any of that stuff from you, or did they already know this stuff from?
No, I probably heard stuff from Greg.
Yeah.
Well, that's when they would play stuff, and I didn't know if they were doing a cover.
Yeah, you would
or
know.
not.
Yeah.
I guess with Light and Hopkins, it was pretty obvious, but otherwise, I never really knew.
Did you ever see that band Jack and Greg had, the Painkillers?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were great. I remember Jeff Evans had said, "Man, there's this band. You got to go see them, the Painkillers." I didn't know Jack or Greg, and we went down to Zot's downtown.
Yeah.
And saw them, and man, I thought they were fantastic, and it was kind of short-lived.
Well, I'm pretty sure. So I was in a power pop band called the Rock Roaches.
Yeah.
And we would all dress.
I saw the Rock Roaches.
Yeah, and we'd dress alike and do all that. And I'm pretty sure the Painkillers. We played with the Painkillers maybe at Decadence Manor one night.
Oh, really? Yeah.
with Linoleum Dream and Polycyclone, and then later on Rod Thomas, the drummer for the Gamblers, he was our drummer too. So then we would play with the Gamblers at least once at the Loose End, North End, whatever it was called. Every time we played somewhere, it would close. Basically, that was like a hallmark. And I'm pretty sure I even saw Jack with Rin Tin. Was he in Rin Tin Horn?
I think so.
And I saw Jack in The End.
Oh,
so
really?
I think
Wow.
I've seen Jack in every incarnation. I didn't see Johnny Vomit and the Dry Heaves.
Where did you see The End?
They played Music Fest when it was relocated to the fairgrounds in 1986.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah, I remember they had, I guess, because there was also for a while they had this Cotton Carnival Music Fest at the fairgrounds in the 80s.
Okay. It was all new to me. I didn't know.
Yeah.
And we got to get Jack in here to talk to him too. But we were hanging out with this little red-headed Jewish girl named Lisa Ravinsky, who was all about The End, and she was into modern English, and she was into all this stuff that these British bands that would she'd pray that would come to the antenna, and somehow she knew that The End was going to play Music Fest, and so of course we tagged along everywhere with her because she had a Paisley lavender Telecaster that George always used when we played in Distemper. And she was one of the many underage kids that would drink at Distemper House. So, you know, we were all together. And George and I would have been the ones who went to prison if we were ever caught. But it was worth the gamble, I guess. So anyway, we go with Lisa, not knowing that this band was from Corinth, Mississippi, the end.
Yeah.
And then she gets us around backstage, and we start talking to Jack and Bump, his cousin. And the keyboard player, whose name's going to escape me right now, who was actually dating Kim at the time, or had dated Kim, because they were all from Corinth. But anyway, Jack was like, "Hey man, I'm kind of sweaty. Can I come over to your apartment and take a shower?" And I'm like, "Well, I just met you, but sure." So
Wasn't Shepherd you were trying
Shepherd.
Yeah.
Shepherd keyboards. And then they had a band called Snack Cake, which played Kim's birthday party at our house.
Jack was in Snack Cake?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I remember seeing their
My
name.
God, I've seen Snack Cake. They played my living room.
Wow. Wow.
Snack Cake. Yeah, Shepherd. Shepherd dated Kim, from what I remember her telling me. So Jack took a shower at Distemper House, but then I didn't see him for a couple of years. He moved up here, I guess, at some point after that.
Okay, yeah.
For Rent and Horn, I guess. And then met Greg for Painkillers.
Jack was from Corinth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Jimbo Mathis was in the end. At least he is on the picture I have in the 45. I thought he was. I don't know if he was in the band the whole time.
There's at Ron Hall's wife's place, Sue's got The End actual flyer in a frame there right now, going for like $20 or something. I sent a picture of it to Jack. He's probably got all that. I don't know.
I got one from Ron.
Yeah, I just picked up from that booth at Quantum. Do you go out to Quantum?
I haven't been out there.
I had not either. I didn't even know it existed. Frank keeps things like this a secret. But Goner has a table out there, and it's a huge, sprawling, very clean.
Is it out summer?
Yes, past what used to be the drive-in.
It's the one closer to Putt Putt than the one further down.
Okay, yeah.
It's right, very close to Sycamore View exit.
Okay, yeah.
Where the cheap gas is.
Yeah.
But I got a New York Dolls official handbill for Ellis Auditorium.
Wow.
For $20. That I knew that they had. I knew Ron had that, but she had only had photocopies there for a long time, and I didn't want a photocopy.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Oh my God, that's an original."
Wow.
I tried to text her. I'm like, "You're selling the original?" And I didn't hear back from her. And I'm like, screw it. I'm just gonna $20. It looks original, and it was, yeah. So, were you into that kind of stuff? Were you trying to be a collector after the fact of things you did were too young to see?
I guess I first got aware of, kind of collectible records there, in the late 70s. And, I didn't have anything, super collectible, but, I liked going to the record stores and flea markets and things and looking and buying used records. And,
Well, getting your job at Sun and the I guess the resume that you had was always strengthened by the fact that you had worked at River Records and that you had your ear to the ground for a very long time.
Yeah, maybe so.
It gave you an air of authenticity that I can't think of anyone else who would have had that other than people moving here. Like, what we all tried to catch up with later, you already had that. And that's kind of what I recognized in you, sort of from the get-go, is like, you seem to be very knowledgeable. And I mean, obviously you were name dropping Playboy and CNN a while ago. What did you do for CNN?
I can't remember the exact project, but something they needed photos for. I can't remember if it was a civil rights project or a music project.
Were you working at the library?
I think I can't remember if I was working at the library at that point or not.
Were you working with Ross?
I worked there with Ross. I did.
God, what a crazy situation that must have been.
Yeah, it was. Ross was pretty notorious around the library.
Was he now? Yeah. Sometimes you'd have to look up Ross.
Yeah.
Let's see. Did I go for an R or a J? Where are you, Ross? Now, I went in there at least once, and I saw you guys working together, and I thought, well, hell, that's a dynamic duo. It's like they actually let two people like that work in the same place.
Yeah, I liked working in the archive. They've got a fantastic photo collection at the University of Memphis. When the old Press-Simeter, the evening newspaper, shut down, they got about 350,000 photos from them. They got just huge collections of photos from people, and it's a really fantastic collection.
Of what nature? Of just Memphis history in general?
The press scimitar is predominantly Memphis stuff. I mean, you can go in there and just look up some obscure business, and if there was never an article in the paper or something, they very well have photos that were used in the articles. And
I recall that. I don't know what I was looking up that day, but would the article be attached to the photograph?
Sometimes,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, why didn't that stuff go to the library, fourth floor?
Well, actually, what happened was the paper closed down, and it was all moved out on the loading dock to go to the dump. And someone called the university and said, "Man, y'all need to get over here because they're throwing out just hundreds and hundreds of boxes of photos." And
were you working then?
I wasn't working there then. That was probably, I think they got that in. I forgot what year the press scimitar went out of business.
Mid-80s?
Yeah, like 84 or something.
What skill level did you... Well, I mean, how did you become connected to this archival world, which is different maybe than the other worlds that you were...
I don't know, because I didn't have any,
college degree
about it. Yeah, nothing. So I just had gotten just through my interest in music. And
do you have a college degree?
I do.
Yeah,
I do have an undergrad degree, but not in library science or anything like that.
What's it in?
Art history.
Okay. Well,
so I was real interested. Got real interested in art. I actually graduated from school. I had a job offer from Brooks Museum, and at the same time, I applied for a job at Sun, and Brooks, wanted to hire me, and Sun called me right before I took the job at Brooks, and I'm like, I think I'll go to Sun. And,
wow.
Wow. And here I am.
Boy, if you'd only taken that Brooks
job, yeah.
You would have somehow given Brooks a rockabilly wing or something.
Yeah, maybe,
Maybe so. One thing I want to bring up before we call it a night is, at some point, after I met you, you would tell me things that would sort of like, blow me back a little bit. Like, you tell me, even if I'm wrong about this, just go with it.
Okay.
You said that there have been more record labels in Memphis, Tennessee than any other city on earth. And I thought, man, that is a cocky fucking thing to say. And it must be true just because it's so cocky. And why wouldn't it be true? Because we created rock and roll. So do you still stand by that?
I would say that's probably some hyperbole, but I will say per capita, Memphis probably ranks way up there. I mean, I'm sure Los Angeles and places have had a zillion labels, but
you think?
But man, there have been so many labels here, and so many, as Frank can tell you, it's funny how places like, barbecue places, Coleman's Barbecue had a record label, Hart's Bread had a record label, nightclubs had label, Western Steakhouse Lounge,
Holiday Inn.
Yeah, Holiday Inn. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there was a bunch of others, but
was that sort of a rite of passage? Like in the mid 70s, you would have a CB radio, but in the 50s, you would have a record label.
I guess, yeah.
It
almost was the pressing plant here, and the studios, and it was easy to do, and
But it almost, of course, Elvis maybe had everything to do with that.
Yeah.
Initially, is there a huge tidal wave of record labels in Memphis that occur after, like, say, 1956?
Oh yeah. That was probably when the
tidal wave happened.
Yeah.
Because everybody thought that they could cash in through that connection.
Oh yeah. I would think so.
So what are are there some labels that you guys can't just find at all, that are just completely disappeared? Or is everything possible?
That would be labels we probably wouldn't even know about.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird that Frank has turned up so many labels I've never even heard of,
He goes out of town.
But like
that's where you had to go get them.
When there was Sun,
Norway.
When there was Sun, talking about all the labels, when there was Sun, what else would there have been?
Maybe the short-lived Buster label,
which only put out like one.
Yeah, Buster Williams that owned the pressing plant here leased some sides from some California label and put out a few 78s. I don't know if it predates Sun or because the pressing plant opened in '49. So that was a little before the Sun label started in 52.
52.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Buster, Sam Phillips.
But you have some other ones that are offsets of Sun,
Yeah.
but they weren't pre-Sun or during Sun, but later,
Yeah.
not at the beginning, like Meteor.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you had Satellite, but that wasn't until later 50s and
Yeah.
high later 50s.
Yeah, Fernwood was probably
Mid-ish,
yeah.
like 56, 57 after Scotty Moore went over there.
Yeah,
But, I mean, you got a good 2-year gap. It's pretty much just
yeah.
Sun Records.
Yeah.
So Buster is the only thing you can think of just before 56.
Yeah, because they were only on 78, so it was early.
Do you have Buster records?
I've got one. It's a woman, Gladys Bentley. Is that the one you?
That's the only one I know of.
Yeah, she was
I've got that one.
She had kind of been big in the Harlem Renaissance era. She was like this male impersonator kind of character, wore like a man's tuxedo, and she was kind of famous back in the Harlem Renaissance days. She married another woman, and was a pretty notorious character. But Buster Records put out a record on her.
Yeah.
Well, so when you say Memphis had a pressing plant, you mean Plastic Products?
Yeah, opened in 49.
Then you also had...
So 49 it did?
Yeah.
So what? I'm sorry, Frank.
Well, so you also had people, you don't hear names that much, that had recording studios that even had them before Sam Phillips, like Burl Swinger.
Yeah.
And then you had a lot of people. You had the radio stations. You had Burl Swinger. You had Sam Phillips coming in. So you had a lot of things going on.
But Plastic Products never had its own label.
No.
The Buster label.
That was through Plastic Products.
Yeah, that was Buster
That was-
Williams.
As far as I know, that was like just a
Yeah.
one-off thing, which
Yeah.
they might have done through the pressing plant. But
Yeah.
the pressing plant pressed a lot of stuff. Pressing plant. But as long as having far as its own label, no. I do have Plastic Product test pressings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard stories that Elvis would go to Plastic Products and watch the singles being made. Have you heard that or read that?
Don't know that.
I mean, I
can see
you
that
sit there and
happening,
read
yeah.
books at Sun.
Yeah.
The best books that probably are making everything up are the European books.
Yeah.
I just wondered if that's true about Memphis having all these record labels. Why isn't there a book about that? Just that. Like Good Rockin' Tonight is about, Sun.
Yeah.
There should just be a book about trade paperback size and that you and Frank maybe collaborate on.
I've been talking about that and working on that for a long time. I used to talk to Ron Hall about that all the time.
About that very thing?
I plan on doing that at some point.
Okay.
The problem is it's never ending.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just like they just
Right.
keep
The day I put a
turning
book
up,
out, the
man.
next day I'll find a label I've never seen before.
Well, you have to make an announcement.
Yeah.
Hey, if anyone wants to do the record label, do it.
Part 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, maybe they don't care if they're in the book or
Well, what
not.
we should do is call all the Chicago, Detroit, Los Angeles, and find people who collect those cities. Be like, hey, how many labels have you found? And we'll compare to let you know
Yeah.
who has the
Oh,
most.
there you go.
Well, there would have to be some empirical data. You can't just make the claim, right?
Well, I can show them a picture of everyone. So,
Well, as I recall you telling me this tale, you said there were over 250 labels? And maybe 240, 250. I remember you giving it a number. This was in the 90s when you told me this.
Remember that. That museum that was on 2nd Street. There was this Richard Haidt worked there. I can't remember what it was called. It was like the Memphis Blues Museum or something. But they had all kind of stuff. And he was working on a book for a while about Memphis record labels. And I don't remember how many he had compiled, but it was a lot,
Have you heard of him, Frank?
yes,
Yeah.
I know all about the museum, and I've actually bought stuff that was in that museum, even though I wasn't around. I mean, I was around, but was young.
Is he around?
No.
Okay.
I've heard of a few people have told. Cordell Jackson, apparently, I've been told, was doing the same thing. So I would love to find where all these record people who know about these labels, where are they? Because I would love to either get them or know what I'm missing.
Yeah.
I've heard of at least 2 or 3 people that were doing that same thing.
Well, since you always hear about Sam's acetates or things, obviously the market is there to make those things survive. Do you never hear about any other things like Cordell or like Moon Record acetates or obscurities that are like master copies of like Moon Records or things of that nature? Do those never come up?
I've got the acetate of Bebopper's Christmas, Cordell Jackson.
Okay.
I'll
so
tell
they're
you
out there.
Some trivia of that was the first Moon record, right? Mm-hmm. She on the liner notes of a CD, she said that she made her first recording at a guy's house named Doc McQuaid or McQuinn, and it was on Cooper, just north of Madison, a house like, I can't remember the address, 92, Cooper. But she cut her first record at this house there on Cooper.
Like on the way to Poplar towards Overton Park?
Just north of Madison.
So that would be around the corner from Beatnik Manor, ultimately.
Yeah.
So this just popped in my head talking about that. All the Elvis history and everybody, Elvis, the history of Memphis. But, talk about names that people don't really know and what shaped what people now know as the Memphis music history. But, like, tell us about Irwin Ellis.
Oh, Mr. Ellis, yeah. He was a barber here in town, and he had a bunch of labels actually over the years. But he had got some recording equipment, and Jim Stewart, he cut Jim Stewart's hair from Stax, and Jim Stewart wanted to start the satellite label, so Mr. Ellis took his gear over there to a little garage, and they cut the first few satellite records, and Mr. Ellis put out I don't know, quite a few 45s, nothing like
The End is on Irwin.
Yeah, The End is on this label.
So that's how long that guy.
Yeah, he was putting out records.
The End?
Yeah.
So, but also I've heard, and I know we've talked about this, Irwin Ellis apparently had, was around Sun and Elvis. He turned him down or something, or maybe told him to go to Sun.
Yeah, maybe.
And things like that.
Say
but
what?
You have these names that people don't really know. That
I've never read that. I don't recall reading that in any
part of
Goralnik book or.
Yeah, well, Elvis stuff. It's hard to separate the
fact
from. Yeah.
You told me here we go again with stories you told me in the 90s that stuck to me like crazy, but then I probably confusing it with something else. But who was the guy that I think you had conversations with? He was an old guy named Jimmy something.
Oh, Jimmy Denson?
Who lived at Lauderdale Courts.
Yeah.
It said that Elvis was a sissy. How did you,
he had this whole spiel about Elvis was this, green-toothed ectomorphic infantile baby that could never be a man, and, it was, and he loved to come down to Sun and, get some Elvis tourist and just get them pinned in the corner and just start going off on Elvis, and he was crazy. But Jimmy was legit. His parents,
legit.
Yeah, his parents owned the Poplar Street Mission where the Presleys first came when they came to Memphis, and they would help families get housing in Lauderdale Courts, and they helped the Presleys move into Lauderdale Courts, and the Densons lived in Lauderdale Court, and Jimmy and his brother Lee were Golden Glove boxers with Johnny and Dorsey Burnett, and
so he wanted people to be tough guys.
Yeah, and they resented this tough guy image Elvis had in the movies, because they said, man, he was like the most, just shy and nobody, growing up.
Which you can see that. I mean, that's kind of obvious.
Yeah, but Jimmy's brother Lee cut some fantastic rockabilly records.
Okay.
On
what label?
He cut some on Vic, Magic Lamp. Not Memphis label.
Yeah, they weren't Memphis.
Kind of like the Burnett's.
Yeah.
They might have resented Elvis a little bit too. All them,
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So what's kind of amazing about this is there was a hidden clique inside Lauderdale Courts that went off and had their own label experiences that were outside of Memphis that knew Elvis and resented him. And of course, Sam resented the Burnett or the Rock and Roll Trio, if we believe what we read, right?
Yeah.
Because they brought a knife in the studio.
They were badasses.
So you had these boxers and knife wielders at Lauderdale Courts. It's no wonder Elvis hung out in the laundry room.
Yeah. That's totally not Elvis.
Elvis never put out a record as good as the Rock and Roll Trio did.
Yeah, well...
But isn't that funny that subsect would be in Lauderdale Courts at the same time? And I'm sure Bill Black and his brother were hanging out with them as like they were...
Yeah.
Well, Bill never knew Elvis. It was somehow... What was that story?
I think Bill was older than his younger brother, Johnny, was living in Lauderdale Courts when Elvis was there. Bill, I think, had already moved out.
Right.
But Johnny... knew Elvis. I asked him about it, and he was like, there just wasn't much to know. I mean, we'd play football and stuff, and he was almost too shy to play. He's like, I saw him, but I really don't know him, which now that.
Being honest.
Yeah, that's very honest. But, of course, Johnny played with Jack Earls on Sun, and then he filled in the rock and roll trio when Dorsey Burnett left the band. He stepped in, and there's a movie, was it Rock, 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 that Johnny Burnett and Rock and Roll Trio are in, and Dorsey's gone, but Johnny Black is playing bass in the movie. And
I got to meet Bill's daughter. She would come in, and I'm not exactly sure what the business was that she was seeing about, but those were the kind of people I would meet in the 90s.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was relatives.
Yeah. Of course, Bill's studios, Linloo was a super active studio.
Now, where was that?
On Chelsea. It was on a couple of different locations on Chelsea.
Okay, near the Hollywood Theater?
First, he had one right by Mr. Ellis's barber shop. Mr. Ellis had a little barber shop, and he made recordings there. And then, like 2 doors down was Linloo. It was right there near Chelsea and Thomas, right across from where American would be.
I guess I'm more familiar with Chelsea, Hollywood, more like, I guess, further east or something.
Yeah, he moved further east, and there was what was the guy that took over Linloo? Rogers?
Larry?
Yeah, Larry Rogers kind of took over the operation after Bill died in 68 or whenever.
So when you hear about Estelle, the Stax family trying to seek out a studio, they were looking for maybe a building or the movie theater. So this man you're talking about was actually involved in those early conversations of what Stax could have been or where it could have been. Or at least providing the equipment.
He brought some equipment down and made some of their first recordings.
Well, that was when they were in like a garage outside the city. They weren't probably quite yet looking for. That was probably about 2 years later.
But none of these people were like rivals or concerned about competition, or
I don't know. Yeah.
They were just like helping each other out, and very much the spirit of really what I find Memphis music and musicians to be about now.
Yeah, maybe so. It doesn't seem real competitive between them. I don't know.
Sam Phillips is probably the reason High Records kept going and existed. The first High record was Tootsie by
Carl McVoy.
and Sam Phillips bought the rights and put it back out on Phillips, and that gave them money to keep going.
Okay.
I'd also heard that Sam Phillips, when Fernwood, was having a hit with Tragedy by Thomas Wayne, of course, you're sending records out and you're not getting paid for them initially. You're waiting on the money afterwards to come in. So, they got demands for, hundreds of thousands of records. And so Slim Wallace said that Sam Phillips called Plastic Products and said, issue credit to Slim Wallace at Fernwood. I'll be happy to stand behind it. And, Fernwood was kind of able to
wait, and tell me that name again.
Slim Wallace.
Okay, so Mark Wallace, his grandson, worked with me at Sun, but Mark really, honestly, at the time, I think was more into metal.
Yeah,
because you have to go through these phases to get to rockabilly, right?
Yeah.
And so this was before COVID. God, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. Mark came to town and he was talking to me about Fernwood, and I'm like, well, dude, have you ever gone to Fernwood? And he goes, no. And I'm like, well, let's just get in the car and drive over. You got the address? So we go down 3rd Street and we turn south on whatever the hell it is. It might have been, we went down Crump, and we turned maybe on 3rd.
Yeah.
And so we go down and then we turn on Fernwood. And there's a black elderly couple living there. And I'm thinking, wow, I'm in the house where Bill Black laid the plumbing and, And they were very friendly and sweet. And we said, can we go out and see Fernwood, which was a separate, tiny garage that was just near, in the driveway, a standalone garage. And so we go in there, and the man said, my mother used this as her in-law quarters, and she passed away a few years ago. And sure enough, there was like a bed where this somewhat, I guess, a drum stage would have been, but very tiny. And the glass was still there.
Wow.
Like the glass plate. And we were asking him questions, but some of it just had to be assumptions because he didn't know really anything.
Yeah.
But somebody, maybe I told you about this at the time, maybe it was like 2014 or something like that. We surmised that the vocals were recorded in the bathroom. So there was a line that was run to the bathroom, but I don't know how I have that information.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I'm not making it up, but that was something we discussed at the time because we worked at Sun, so we were trying to figure out the layout because it was just a stupid common square, sort of square room.
Yeah.
And it's who you put in there that made the difference.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And the equipment or lack of it or whatever. And so then later, Mark got back in touch with the guy, and then his kids kind of were onto us, or they thought that we were trying to maybe take something or do something, which we weren't.
Yeah.
It was Mark's grandfather's place. But then Mark, like a week ago, messaged me and said, the gentleman who owned that house just passed away, and I don't know how Mark was keeping up with this.
Wow.
And he's like, do you want to go back over there? And I've been so, like, hectic. Just the whole idea of that, I was kind of down on the idea, but talking to you guys makes me, do you guys want to go to Fernwood?
Yeah, I've driven by there, never got the chance to go into the little
Well, I mean,
shed,
to me, the only thing that really deserves to really, you need to get that glass out of there.
Yeah.
To me, that's the only, I mean, there might be some sound tiles, I can't remember, but the glass, and it wasn't, I mean, I'm trying to, it was much smaller than that. It was probably 4 feet long and 3 feet high. It wasn't much of a piece of glass, but it could be gotten or sold, you know.
Yeah, I got to meet Slim Wallace. I had heard he and his wife every day went out to Southland Mall to walk in the mall.
You hear
and I went out there and met him and you know, went out there and had lunch with him a few times and stuff, and he was just a really lovely guy.
This is why you're getting the Playboy gigs, man. This is why CNN's calling.
Jim Cole knows Slim Wallace.
What? Got too much soul. Well, okay. Is this when you were working at Sun?
It may have been right after. It was in the 90s still, but
okay.
I don't know what year Slim Wallace died, but, you know, he and his wife were still, you know, out and about.
So you never met Mark?
Never met Mark.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll hook up. I'll get him. I think he's in Florida.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know when he'd be passing through, but obviously if this man died who owns the Fernwood property, who knows what happens to something like that, you know? I mean, I can't believe it would still even be there, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm just as a garage.
Yeah.
And in the back, rain damage. This was 10 years ago, and the back had sort of caved in.
Oh, God. Yeah.
So it might not be there anymore. And that's why I respected you, because you had the rare exception of, outside people are actually hiring you, and I think Andrea maybe probably at certain points, for your opinion, for your expertise, your knowledge, and all that, which I had whispered in my ear at barristers, you know. So I was like, well, if he knows what he's talking about, I guess. So I'm proud of you for doing that. But I still think the photographs you've taken are just, it's like with the Teenage Tupelo book. Man, liberating those photographs that you took of my friends that were in these movies. And, you know, it's just, to get those out from under my bed and storage for 30 years almost, 27 years, that was just cathartic. It was great, and I know you got more stuff like that.
Yeah, well, hopefully, you know, time will make them look better. You know, it's.
Well, I think that old '70s Canon just does the trick. You still have it, right?
Yeah.
Do they still make 35 millimeter film?
God, I don't even.
You
know.
don't know?
I guess I do. You know, but
when's the last time you bought a roll of film?
Wow, I couldn't even tell.
Seriously. So you finally just stepped away from that?
Yeah. In the 90s, I guess. You know?
Did
you have photo credits on Discogs?
Oh yeah.
Did you step away from it because you were getting older and you thought, well, I'm not having as much fun at shows as I used to, or what was the reason?
Maybe some of that, you know.
Not like you were maturing like greatly.
No, and digital photography hit, and
You didn't
and
care
all
about
that.
that.
Not a whole lot,
Right.
I mean, although I take more pictures now than I ever did with my phone,
okay,
but
right.
it's just not the same. I don't know. It's just
What's your subject matter now?
my dog, my whatever, out riding my bike. Oh, it was a cool house, whatever.
Right. Right.
Nothing, no rhyme or reason to it. I guess when you were shooting film, you had a limited number of shots, and you had to kind of really
Edit.
be focused about it, and you didn't just snap away constantly.
Well, but you seem to have like a very conscious effort to know your light source and your f-stop and all
Yeah, I
that
tried to learn the basics. I never really.
Yeah.
How many Guitar Wolf, 68 Comeback? Those are two I can think of. You have any other ones?
Oblivians.
That's right, Oblivians.
Oh, Fireworks.
Yeah.
Mike did some artwork on that. And,
Yeah.
I had a photo in that.
There's a picture in the Teenage Tupelo book of Jim taking a picture of fireworks while, is it Doug Easley was sticking his head out the window at on Dedrick.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe he's taking a picture. I can't remember. God, where are all these pictures, Well, when you went to shows, like whatever epoch it was, like the 70s, the 80s, did you see a lack of photography happening? So therefore you felt like...
Yeah,
well,
I mean, even in the early 90s, you'd go to shows and there wasn't many people taking photos.
Right.
I mean, nobody had a,
right.
phone with the camera.
Say it wasn't so easy to get a camera, especially if you're at a punk rock club. Who wants to carry in a big old camera?
Well, no one's going to stop you from going in with a camera,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
Unlike maybe the Coliseum, where they would maybe try to stop you. I guess they would. Which made, again, going back to the flea markets at the Coliseum, it made the photographs more special. It's like, not only are these great photographs from like the third row or maybe even the front row, but when you're on the front row taking photographs, you're just sticking out like a sore thumb to be asked to leave or take your camera to the car.
Yeah.
Well, you were never asked to do anything like that.
No, I mean, I guess generally when I took photos, it wasn't like, big name,
Right.
kind of stuff.
Well, true.
Yeah.
And but maybe that suited your anthropology.
Yeah.
That there probably were plenty of photographers taking shots of Coliseum shows anyway.
Yeah.
But these Ziggy Stardust photos I have from Ellis are they seem like they're front row. And I know they would crack down on you back then for that kind of thing. I don't know why, though. Why wouldn't the artist want to have as many documents, as possible?
I know.
Those shows had staff photographers from papers going, magazines, all that stuff.
But
the shows
that
he was shooting wouldn't have.
No, I know, but why have that kind of exclusivity back then? I don't get it.
I guess they thought people were going to set up at the flea market and sell photos.
Well,
there's probably more photos of those shows out there that we've never seen or know about, because there was all kinds of photographers going to those shows from magazines and newspapers and going to see Hendrix.
Well,
you would think it's Jimi Hendrix, you'd see tons of photos from these shows, and I've seen maybe two.
Yeah. Was it, I'm trying to think, James Eddie Campbell told me that when Hendrix tickets went on sale, he made it a point, and I mean, he's a little older than you, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly how he got to the Coliseum, but the moment, the hour, the day the ticket office opened, he just thought there would be a line for Hendrix. And I guess we're talking 1970, right?
Yeah.
Nobody was there. So he just goes up to the ticket thing. The lady's there. And he's like, I'd like a ticket for Jimi Hendrix. And she gives him like third row, second row. And he said he was so close to the stage that when a pick went out, he scrambled for it.
Wow.
So, and I remember I run into him at the mail center still. So he'll.
Oh, really? Yeah.
He'll tell me.
I haven't seen him in years.
Really?
But, man, I miss old Eddie World.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so cool.
What was Susan Sarandon here making? What film was that? Was it The Firm or
I'm
what
not
movie?
sure.
What Memphis movie was she in? Susan Sarandon. That's what started his whole painting career. She came in to Eddie World and saw his folk art and bought a couple of them, and then that, I guess, her friends in L.A. or what? That's again. You didn't tell me that.
No, news to me.
How do I get these stories? Maybe through Sue Millions.
Oh yeah.
I bet you haven't seen her in a long time.
I have not.
Wow.
Is she in New Orleans or North Carolina?
North Carolina, maybe.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Now, her husband, Lance, is the Raining Sound's going to do another show with the original lineup. Oh, God, I can't see. What does it say? The Client. Okay. It was The Client. Okay, which I don't think I've ever seen. Oh.
Yeah, I remember going to Eddie World. He had, just tons of great, crazy stuff. And he started painting while he was there at Eddie World. And it just kind of took off for him. And
and he had like sew-on patches that I'd only ever seen in comic book ads from the hippy drippy days of the early to mid 70s.
Oh wow!
So he had the "Help I Need Lovin'" patch, and I bought all of them and put them on the damsel of his costume.
Yeah.
And I think that was the first time that I guess we worked together. Was I invited you over to the house at 113 North Greer?
Yeah.
And you came over to take pictures of me wrapped in 8-track tape.
Yeah.
Which then I appeared as Helvis in the comic book, and George was there.
Oh, yeah.
And that was the first time you came over, and I thought, man, you've got to be crazy. Don't you have something better to do?
What's better than that?
I know. Well, then the next time you got to come over and take pictures of Delana.
Yeah, well, there you go.
And I think that was in the span of maybe 6 months or something.
Yeah,
I don't know. Read the book.
Yeah.
I don't know. So, did you go to Memphis Comics and Records? Was that
yeah, quite a bit.
Did you? But you were more interested in the records than the comics.
Yeah.
Yeah. You never were into comics.
I was real into comics as a kid, and I was probably about 12 or so, and I went over to a friend's house, and his older brother had Mad magazines, and I never wasn't familiar with Mad, and man, I started looking at these Mads, and I mean, that was it. I just like totally dumped the comics and went.
Was it reprints from the 50s?
No, it was just what was current.
Yeah.
So this has been kind of like mid 60s.
Wow. Oh yeah, angry Vietnam protests.
Yeah, and it's stuff. Like wow, I couldn't believe it, and I just went full on with Mad.
Did you read National Lampoon?
A little bit, not a whole lot.
What did you read? Did you try to get Playboy? Did you try to enlighten your whole existence with that?
Now and then you get lucky, and
How would you get things like that in Memphis?
God,
back in the day.
Friends with older brothers were a good source. I remember a friend of mine going over, and his older brother was real into like underground comics, like R. Crumb stuff, Zap comic and all that. And seeing those for the first time, and it was like, wow, man, that was just
How would you get those here?
He would buy them at head shops, there was...
You mean not Yellow Submarine, but a head shop?
Yellow Submarine was somewhat of a head shop, but they had records and things. But the first head shop I went to was called The Other Side, and it was on Highland when the Highland Strip was in its heyday. And then it moved down Highland a little bit, and then they changed the name to Whatever.
Okay.
About 71 or something. I think it became Whatever.
So they had comics?
You could buy underground comics there, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Because there had to be some kind of distribution in Memphis, I would think.
Yeah, you'd probably find them more at head shops than you would in, some places sold comic books or whatever.
So you were familiar with Robert Crumb, Spain...
I didn't really know him by name, but I was familiar with the comics.
With the style.
Yeah.
Well, what about you said you had an older sister.
Yeah.
So that obviously had to be a gateway.
She wasn't real into that kind of stuff too much,
Into music and...
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Because usually that's what you hear, or what I hear from people is like their older sibling.
Yeah.
Did something...
I didn't get a lot of that kind of cultural references from her. Mm-hmm. I mean, mainly it was... If it was someone older, it was a friend's older brother,
Right. Similar.
And there were some teenagers in the neighborhood that were older, and, you would, pick up on some things from them.
But you moved a little bit.
After high school.
Working your way out east. Is that what you were doing from Sea Isle to were you heading out east, like were your parents doing the white flight thing?
We moved out towards Sea Isle in 1962, and then, after I got out of high school, I kind of started migrating to Midtown and,
And doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Frank, you got anything else to add before we let this guy out of here?
Not that I'm aware of.
Any esoteric label stuff that you haven't covered?
we could talk about Memphis labels for a while, but nothing... I don't know. I need to get Jim back over to the house. It's been a while since he's been over, and we need to like do a deep dive and start actually cataloging some stuff.
How so? How do you work that out? You acquire things, and then you want Jim's archivist opinion.
Well, I like showing him stuff that he may not know about, or he may know and tell me things, and I like to build off things. I'm always wanting to learn.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure he's got labels I don't have, and I'm sure other people have labels I don't have. So if I do want to work on a book, I'm gonna have to like take pictures of other things and write them down. And
you're talking about Memphis-centric stuff.
Oh yeah,
yeah. But I mean, well, obviously you care about if there's some obscure LA thing or whatever, you're into that too.
Mm-hmm.
So do you guys get together and do this quite a bit?
It's been a while, but
we used to, more so.
Yeah. Did COVID interrupt it? I guess. Not really.
It's life,
Yeah. Life. Well, thank you for being here.
Oh, my pleasure.
I'm
man.
glad you went along with this.
All right.
You have any famous last words?
Not really, man. Just,
you have any song you want to play that's on your mind lately, or anything rare, or anything to go out on?
Actually, I've bought a record recently that would be right up your alley. It's called "Nobody Loves the Hulk," and the story was this girl wrote it kind of late '60s, and she took it down to the studio, and they got a group of studio musicians to record it. And then she had it pressed, and she took out little ads in Marvel Comics to sell this record. Of course, they didn't sell many, but it's a fantastic record.
I've heard something of, not heard the record, but I've heard of it.
Yeah.
Where was it recorded?
I'm not sure where she was, but not
Memphis.
No.
Okay, because we love the Hulk in Memphis.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jim, for being here. Frank, thank you as always. Dennis, we love you.
Thoroughly enjoyed it, Jim.
All right, I enjoyed it too.
And I always learned something, but I learned a lot tonight, things I didn't know. So.
All right.
Maybe you can come back.
All right.
Explosion made him feel so strange. For his molecules had been rearranged into the whole. His monster is ugly, oversized and green. Well, his strength is fantastic and his disposition's mighty mean. Whenever people see him, all they do is run around and scream. Cause nobody loves a Hulk. Nobody loves a Hulk. Nobody loves a Hulk. Except you and me. Don't allow no green skinned people in there, yeah! Gonna announce that the Hulk has got to be destroyed.